This is a video for everyone in his or her 20s. This is a video for Gen Z. I am a millennial, but I talk a lot with guys in your age. So hear me out, I need to tell you a few things. Because I think I need to make you aware of in what kind of a world you are living. Because I think most of you got a totally wrong perspective. I will start this episode with a story from my life. Welcome to my channel, Useful Thoughts, where I teach you lessons from my life so you don't make the same mistakes that I made. The other day I was talking to a guy in my local pub. I used to play pool billiard with him and I like him. He seems nice, ambitious and sporty. So one day he looked kind of sad, his face was hanging down and he was not really motivated to play. So I asked him, what's wrong? And he said, I'm unemployed since a few days. I said, okay. So what's the problem? Get a job. Yeah, I already got an offer, but they only pay me 3,000 a month. 3,000? I asked. You mean after tax? Yeah, after tax, but it's hard work, it's in a print factory and I have night shifts and it's only 3,000. So I was like, really? I did not make 3,000 after tax when I was 25 years old. That's actually a good salary. Yeah, but I want to rent a larger apartment. I want to buy a new e-bike for a few thousand euros. I want to go to the United States for a road trip. I want to go on vacation there. I want to buy a kiteboard and skis and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, you have a plan, but I am sorry, this is not how life works. So people of your age think as soon as they start working, they can buy all the stuff the other guys have. I mean, I want all these things too, but this is luxury. I could afford a better lifestyle 20 years ago when I was a student. Life has become expensive. And there is the first thing you need to be aware of. All the things that you're seeing on social media, on Instagram, all these rich kids with their bikes and cars and kites and skis and whatever it is they have and all their luxury vacations and all their trips, this is luxury. This is not normal. This is not the kind of life you will have as soon as you start working. This is just the luxury life of a few, of the upper 1 or maybe 5%. And this is why they are so popular on social media, because everyone wants to have their lives. Wikipedia says on an article about Gen Z, they are digital natives with, quote, are since their earliest childhood used to social media and the internet, and they are handling it well, and they know how to gather information and to compare it and to connect virtual experiences with their real offline life. But apparently this is not completely true. What this paragraph actually wants to tell you is Gen Z are the so-called digital natives, meaning they don't know a world without digitalization. Since their earliest childhood, they have been brainwashed and misguided by the internet and social media, consuming all kinds of misinformation, and without questioning it, they cannot separate virtual experiences from the real world anymore. I'm sorry, but it's more like that. I don't want to talk bad about your generation, and I am well aware that Gen Z has it even harder than my generation and the generation before. And I clearly see Gen Z as victims of all the bullshit that Gen X did and all that crap they left on this world, and now Gen Z has to deal with it. Climate change, national debt, immigration crisis, unaffordable real estate prices, high living expenses, and so on. It's not my generation who is responsible for all this, it's the greed of the generations before mine. They exploited the planet, they exploited other people, they took loans, they're paying themselves out pensions nobody can pay. And they constructed a global financial system that is just absurd and based on debt. Congrats, Gen Z. You got the Black Peter card. But not everything in your life is bad. Actually, you have a real comfortable life. And here are some facts about Gen Z. Gen Z is experiencing puberty much earlier in their life than any other generation before them, but at the same time, there is the least number of teenage pregnancies there ever was. So you guys seem to know how to handle your... There is another fact that is actually a little bit sad, and that is that youth subcultures have almost died out among Gen Z. Gen Z has more allergies and intolerances than any other generation. You need to play a little bit more in the dirt. Members of Gen Z are likely to be diagnosed with intellectual disabilities or mental disorders. Gen Z is socially progressive and very well connected. Gen Z is well educated and well behaved, but at the same time more stressed and more depressed than older generations. There is the highest amount of non-binary gender identification so far. And I'm not judging here, but no wonder all these different genders that they exist now, they haven't been existing just a couple of years ago. Gen Z takes so much pictures and videos, they will be the best documented generation of all times. Gen Z's main goals are finishing school, owning a home in the suburbs, maintaining friendships and family relationships, having a stable employment, and they don't care that much about pop culture or consumerism. At least this is what they say when you ask them. I mean, this sounds great. These are like great goals, aren't they? But here comes the problem. No generation had it ever harder to buy property in the suburbs. And keeping a job for many years has become difficult as well. So what Gen Z does is Gen Z loves to remember the times when they were little. When they were kids, life was so easy. And interestingly, nostalgia plays a big role among Gen Z. Apparently, they like the 1980s. They haven't even been alive in the 1980s, but they like them. They see the pop culture, like the TV series and movies, and they listen to the music from the 80s, basically the music their parents listened to, the music that I was listening to. And that could be interpreted as a subconscious longing for a world without digitalization. Why was the music so much better in the 1980s and 90s? Because people actually knew how to play an instrument instead of just programming a computer. It was real music with a soul. That's why it's so good. And this world that is showing in these series and movies from back then, this world is so calm and relaxed and so nice. And at the same time, it's full of colorful fashion, and everyone had a house in the suburbs, and life just seemed to be perfect back then, judging from these movies and series. But movies and series are not real. They do not reflect the real life. They were constructed for entertaining people and for giving them hope. So before there was TV, people would go to church to get hope. Then TV became popular, and as soon as everybody got a TV in his home, they wouldn't go to church anymore because there was so much hope on the TV. But I guess back then in the 1980s, the people were tricked by television in the same way they are being tricked now. One of my favorite TV series when I was a kid was Married with Children. Al Bundy was a shoe seller, and this is his family. This is his wife Peggy and his daughter Kelly and his son Bud. His dog is missing on that picture. But still, look at them. They do not look like the most ambitious people. In fact, his wife was staying at home and didn't work. And the kids were bad at school, and Kelly was always... And this is Al Bundy's home. Almost a mansion in the suburbs, a large house with a garage and a garden. To be honest, I do not think that a shoe seller, even back in the 1980s, could afford such a house. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air did not live in this mansion because he was so fresh. And most 20-year-old college students could probably not share a Melrose Place with a pool in the middle, and everyone living in his own apartment. And life certainly was not like in Beverly Hills 90210 either, except maybe in Beverly Hills. And if you wanted friends like in the TV series Friends, well, then good luck with that. I never met a single guy or girl that was like them. And actually, I'm pretty happy about it. So, back to music. For Gen Z, music consumption is a very personal thing. In my generation, we would all listen to the same music because there were just fewer artists on the market than there are today. And because listening to music was very expensive, there were no streaming services, meaning if you wanted to listen to a certain album, you had to go into a store and buy it. So one's music collection was very limited. Music for us was a connecting thing. We would listen to music together on the parties. We would play on the guitar our favorite songs and everyone would sing along. I will pin up a music video here of a song everybody knew and everybody would sing along. It's called Wonderwall by the British band Oasis. It's the perfect campfire guitar song. And there is another one that everybody knew, Creep by Radiohead. These two songs united my generation. Nowadays, music seems to separate people. So everybody's got their earplugs in their ears and they're like, They don't really care what music others listen to. Books. Books are basically a waste of money for Gen Z. If they read from a screen. I could never read a book from a screen. The whole idea of reading wouldn't work for me. I want to read from paper. Reading should relax my eyes. But Gen Z rather watches videos, TikTok, shorts, whatever, than reading a book. Reading a book is a good thing. It stimulates your mind. The book Harry Potter didn't tell you how Harry Potter looked like. You had to figure it out yourself. So your personal fantasy comes into play when you are reading a book. Videos do not stimulate your imagination, but your brain does. And now a few words about consumption. I admit I shop most of my stuff online. I hardly visit any stores because I do not like stores and I do not like salesmen. But before I buy something, I do my research. Like if I would be about buying a new coffee maker, I would check out at least a few hundred different coffee makers and pick out the one that seems to be the best. So I'm a very slow buyer, but Gen Z seems to be very impulsive. They are not doing their research before they buy something, they're just buying what an influencer suggests. They are following trends. If they see something in the internet they like, add to cart. Product reviews, too long, didn't read. So what they experience is doing their shopping is FOMO, the fear of missing out. This thing is on sale, I need to buy it now. But being on sale is no reason to buy anything. It seems like being and appearing trendy is a primal motivator to buy. Fast fashion is in fashion among Gen Z. They always want something new. They always follow the trends. So they buy cheap and unsustainable clothes. They washed them a couple of times and they are already destroyed and they threw them away and they buy new stuff. They don't mind that $10 t-shirt was produced in developing countries where human rights are being abused and people are being exploited. It has always been like that. Developing countries produce our clothes. That's normal. It was normal for my generation. Why wouldn't it be normal for them? Fortunately, there are already a lot of fair trade and sustainable clothing companies where you at least have the impression that you don't exploit other people when you buy a 70 € t-shirt. So what about the environment? Gen Z does care about environmental issues, climate change and human rights, but Gen Z's actions and actual purchases and their need for high-speed delivery does not reflect this awareness. They know that flying is a bad thing for the environment, but it's so much fun to fly somewhere and be on vacation on another continent or on some island. So it's not them who are bad for the environment, it's all the others. Good news is, Gen Z's consumption of alcohol and nicotine is lower than in earlier generations. But that is not because Gen Z doesn't want to drink or smoke, it's because drinking and smoking has become so expensive that they just can't afford it. What kind of products do you think sell best among Gen Z? It's health and beauty products. For women, but also for men. Never ever in history have men been buying so many beauty and health products. Well, I guess that's enough for one video. Next time I will talk about the mental health issues of Gen Z. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss this one. Now here are some other videos that you could watch. And that's it for today. And as always, thank you for listening.